Hello, fifth graders. Let's check our workbook page 14, see how you did. I would like you to make corrections, so if you get any of these wrong, you should definitely fix it. All right, for number 19, I see do not have the same numerator, do not have the same denominator. I can't multiply 3 by something to get 5, so I'm going to multiply each fraction by the opposite fraction's denominator. So 3 over 3, 5 over 5. All right, 2 times 5 is 10 fifteenths, and 3 times 4 is 12 fifteenths. So now that I'm comparing with the same denominator, I know that 12 fifteenths is more than 10 fifteenths. For number 20, you may have multiplied this by 8 eighths and this by 12 twelfths. I know that 24 is the least common multiple, so I'm going to multiply 9 twelfths by 2 over 2 and 6 eighths by 3 over 3 and use 24 as my common denominator. So 9 times 2 is 18 24ths, and 6 times 3 is 18 24ths. So these are equivalent. And maybe you're thinking, I multiplied this by 8 eighths and this by 12 twelfths, and I got that they were equivalent too. Yes, it will come out equal either way that you do it. Okay, for number 21, I see that these have the same numerator. So I'm not going to multiply anything. I'm just going to look and see which of those pieces would be larger, and the ninths would be larger than the tenths because I'm sharing with 9 people instead of 10. So 7 ninths would be greater. If you did use the multiply by 10 over 10 and multiply by 9 over 9, you still got that this one was greater. All right, for number 22, I noticed that the numerators aren't the same and neither are the denominators, but I can multiply 3 by something to get 6. So I'm going to multiply 2/3 by 2 over 2, because when I do that, I get 4/6, and now I can compare 4/6 and 5/6, and 5/6 is greater. For number 23, I see that they don't have the same numerator. They don't have the same denominator. I can't multiply 7 by anything to get 9. And actually, 7 times 9, that is going to be the LCM. So I would multiply 3/7 by the opposite fraction's denominator. And I will multiply 5/9 by the opposite fraction's denominator. That means the denominator for both of these is going to be 63, because 7 times 9 is 63. And over here, I end up with a numerator of 35, and here I end up with a numerator of 27. And the last time I checked, 35 was greater than 27. Since both pieces are the same size, I can compare them like that. All right, number 24, numerators are not the same. Denominators are not the same. It doesn't matter if a numerator and a denominator match, because that's not how we create equivalent fractions. So I'm going to multiply 8 ninths by 10 tenths. And I'm going to multiply 9 tenths by 9 ninths. This will allow me to get 90 in the bottom for both of them. 9 times 9 is 81. 8 times 10 is 80. 81 is greater than 80, and I can just look at the 81 and the 80 because my denominators match. So 9 tenths is greater than 8 ninths. All right, number 25, they do not have the same numerator. They do not have the same denominator. I can't multiply 5 by something to get 9. So I'm going to multiply 1/5 by the opposite fraction's denominator and 2 ninths by the opposite fraction's denominator. This means I end up with 9 45ths and 10 45ths. Since they're both the same size pieces, I can go with the greater numerator, which would be 10 45ths. So 2 ninths is greater. For number 26, the numerators do not match. The denominators do not match. I can't multiply 3 by something to get 8, so I'm going to multiply each fraction by the opposite fraction's denominator. And let's see here, 3/3, 8 eighths. This ends up becoming, 3 times 3 is 9 over 24, and this is 8 over 24. 9 24ths is greater than 8 24ths. And for number 27, I have 7 tenths, I have 4/5. The numerators don't match. The denominators don't match. However, 5 times 2 will give me 10. So I am just going to multiply 4/5 by 2 over 2. I don't have to change 7 tenths, because if I do this 1 times 2 over 2, I will have a matching bottom. What's more, 7 tenths or 8 tenths? 8 tenths. That means 4/5 would be greater. All right, now on to some word problems. In the last basketball game, Joel made 4 out of 7 free throws. 4 out of 7 would look like this. Carlos made 5 out of 9 free throws. 5 out of 9 would look like that. Which boy made the greater fraction of his free throws? So what that's asking you is, which one of these is greater? Okay, so this is just a comparison problem like we did up here. I notice that 4 and 5 don't match and 7 and 9 don't match, and I can't multiply 7 by something to get 9. So I'm going to multiply this fraction by the opposite fractions denominator and this fraction by the opposite fractions denominator. When I do that, I will get 36 over 63 and 35 over 63. Now that they both have the same denominator, I can look at which has more pieces, so 36 is greater. Now, you wouldn't just say 4 7s. The question was, which boy made the greater fraction? So, which boy had the 4 out of 7? That would be Joel. So you should write Joel. Okay. For number 29, it says, Julie lives 3/8 of a mile from school, and Madeline lives 5/12 of a mile from school. Which girl lives closer to school? So when they're asking which lives closer, that means who lives a lower distance. So we're still going to compare 3/8 and 5/12. But with this one, since I want to know who lives closer, we're actually looking for which one is lower. So I notice like 8 and 12, you're going to see that quite a bit. 8 and 12, the LCM is actually 24. So I would multiply 5/12 by 2 over 2, and I would multiply 3/8 by 3 over 3. The reason is I will get a denominator of 24 that matches when I do that. 3 times 3 is 9, and 5 times 2 is 10. So I know that 10/24 is greater than 9/24, but this question is who lives closer to school? So I'm going to go with the 3/8 because that's less. That means it's a lower distance away from school. So the 3/8 goes with Julie. So I'm going to write Julie on the line. All right, next, number 30. Nisha and Tim are reading the same book. Nisha finished 9/10 of the book. Tim finished 8/9 of the book. Who read more? So we are looking for which one's greater between 9/10 and 8/9. All right, I notice that I don't have any matching numerators or denominators. So I'm gonna go ahead and multiply this by 9/9 and this by 10/10. Just so you know, you could use some fractional reasoning for this, meaning this is 1/10 away from the whole and this is 1/9 away from the whole. If you're like, what are you talking about? Just wait, we'll be doing it some more in number talks. For now, I'll stick to the way that you're used to. So with this, I would end up having 81 over 90 and 80 over 90. So 81/90 would be greater. So if it wants to know who's read more, well, the 9/10 would be more. And Nisha was the one that read 9/10. So Nisha is what you should write on the line. And we have our work to prove it right over here. Number 31, Julio's trail mix has 2/3 of a cup of almonds. Paula's trail mix recipe has 3/4 of a cup of almonds. Whose recipe has more almonds? So we're looking at what's greater, 2/3 or 3/4. The numerators don't match. The denominators don't match. I can't multiply 3 by anything to get 4. So I'm going to multiply this by the opposite fractions denominator and this by the opposite fractions denominator. Because when I do that, I'll get bottoms that match. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 3 is 9. 9/12 is greater than 8/12. That means that 3/4 is greater. So who does 3/4 belong to? That would be Paula. Paula's recipe had 3/4. So on this line, I should write Paula because I want to make sure I'm answering the question. All right, number 32. At Al's school, 3 out of every 7 students are in band. That would look like 3/7. At Tia's school, 5 out of every 11 students are in band. That would look like 5/11. Which school has a greater fraction of students in band? So it's asking which one of those is more. So we need to do a comparison here. and my numerators don't match, and my denominators don't match. So I'm going to multiply 3/7 by the opposite fraction's denominator. I'm going to multiply 5/11 by the opposite fraction's denominator. I end up with 33 over 77 and 35 over 77. 35 out of 77 would be greater. So I have to figure out which person belongs to the 5/11. It says at Tia's school, 5 out of every 11 are in band. So the greater fraction of students in band would go to Tia's school. I'm not going to have us do the check for understanding now. I like to do those in class so we can discuss them and I can see where you're at. So I will see you soon. Thanks for checking your work.